Government debt crisis. A government debt crisis occurs when a country is unable to meet its financial obligations or struggles to pay back money it has borrowed. In simple terms, it happens when a government owes more money than it can manage, either in the short term or over a long period. Governments borrow money to fund public services, infrastructure projects, social programs, or to cover budget deficits when spending exceeds revenue. Borrowing can be a normal part of economic management, but when debt grows too large relative to the size of the economy, it can create serious financial and social problems. Understanding the causes, effects, and potential solutions to a government debt crisis is important for citizens, policymakers, and investors. The causes of a government debt crisis are often a combination of poor fiscal management, economic downturns, and external shocks. One major factor is excessive borrowing without sufficient revenue to repay loans. Governments may take on large amounts of debt to fund ongoing expenditures, such as salaries, pensions, healthcare, or education, without balancing the budget through taxes or other income. This can create a situation where interest payments on the debt become a large portion of the government's spending, leaving less money for essential services. Poor planning and mismanagement of funds often worsen the problem. Economic downturns are another important cause of a debt crisis. During recessions or periods of slow economic growth, government revenues usually decline because people and businesses earn less and pay fewer taxes. At the same time, government spending often increases due to unemployment benefits, social support programs, and stimulus packages aimed at stabilizing the economy. This combination of reduced income and increased expenditure can make it difficult for governments to manage existing debt, leading to higher borrowing and growing financial pressure. External shocks, such as natural disasters, pandemics, or global financial crises, can also contribute to debt problems by creating unexpected expenses or disrupting economic activity. Interest rates play a crucial role in a government debt crisis. If a government borrows money at high interest rates, the cost of servicing the debt becomes much higher. Rising interest rates can occur due to domestic economic conditions or changes in global financial markets. When debt service costs rise significantly, governments may need to borrow even more to pay existing debts, creating a cycle of increasing debt and financial vulnerability. Investors may also lose confidence in a government's ability to repay its loans, which can lead to higher borrowing costs and reduced access to credit. This loss of confidence can accelerate the debt crisis. A government debt crisis can have severe economic and social consequences. High levels of debt can limit a government's ability to invest in critical areas such as infrastructure, healthcare, education, and social welfare. This can slow economic growth and reduce the quality of life for citizens. Inflation may rise if governments try to print money to cover debt, reducing the value of savings and increasing the cost of living. In some cases, governments may need to implement austerity measures, including tax increases and cuts to public services, which can lead to public dissatisfaction, protests, and social unrest. The effects of a debt crisis are often felt most acutely by vulnerable populations who depend on government support for basic needs. Government debt crises are often managed through a combination of strategies aimed at reducing debt, restoring investor confidence, and stabilizing the economy. One common approach is fiscal consolidation, which involves reducing budget deficits by cutting spending, increasing taxes, or a combination of both. While this approach can help control debt levels, it may also slow economic growth and increase social hardship if implemented too quickly or without careful planning. Another strategy is debt restructuring, which involves negotiating with creditors to extend repayment periods, reduce interest rates, or even reduce the total amount owed. Debt restructuring can provide temporary relief and prevent default, but it may also damage a country's credit rating and investor trust. International organizations, such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, often play a role in managing government debt crises. They provide financial assistance, technical support, and policy guidance to help countries stabilize their economies. Assistance may include loans with favorable terms, policy advice to improve fiscal management, and programs to promote economic growth and development. However, this support is often accompanied by conditions, such as implementing economic reforms, restructuring public spending, or improving governance. These conditions aim to ensure that the assistance leads to sustainable debt management rather than temporary relief. Preventing a government debt crisis requires careful planning, disciplined fiscal management, and sustainable economic policies. Governments need to balance borrowing with revenue generation, maintain transparency in public spending, and monitor economic indicators to anticipate potential risks. Establishing rules for borrowing, such as limits on debt to gross domestic product ratios, can help maintain fiscal responsibility. Diversifying sources of revenue, improving tax collection systems, and promoting economic growth are also essential measures to reduce vulnerability to debt crises. Citizens can play a role by holding governments accountable and demanding transparency in financial management. A government debt crisis also highlights the interconnectedness of global economies. Many countries borrow from international lenders or issue debt in foreign markets. Problems in one country can have ripple effects, influencing trade, investment, and financial stability in other countries. For example, a debt crisis in a large economy can affect currency values, interest rates, and investor confidence worldwide. Understanding these connections is important for policymakers to anticipate risks and coordinate responses. Global cooperation and strong financial regulations can help prevent or mitigate debt crises. In conclusion, a government debt crisis occurs when a country struggles to meet its financial obligations due to excessive borrowing, economic downturns, rising interest rates, or poor fiscal management. Such crises can have far-reaching effects on economic stability, social well-being, and global markets. Managing a debt crisis requires a combination of fiscal discipline, debt restructuring, international support, and sound economic policies. Preventing debt crises involves careful planning, sustainable borrowing, and transparency in public finances. Understanding the causes and consequences of government debt crises helps citizens, investors, and policymakers make informed decisions, protect economic stability, and promote social welfare. If you found this explanation helpful and easy to understand, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more informative content on economics, finance, and the forces shaping national and global stability.